Okay, hi everyone. Let's have a look at the representation question for Educast Media Studies, and I am going to take you through the 5 mark question, and in a different video, I will take you through the 25-mark question, but they are both obviously related. Okay, so they will be based on the set text that is going to be given to you, and you will be able to see it, which I think is really helpful. Okay, so let's have a look. Now, what it says here is that explain how social context influences magazines. Refer to Vogue Magazine to support your points. And the Vogue Magazine cover that is the set text for this year is this one here on the right hand side, which is the cover featuring Malala Yousafzai. Okay, so let's come back here to the context question. And I am not going to write any answers down. I'm just going to say them out and you can make your notes as you go along. I'm just going to give you some ideas. It's 5 marks, so coming up with 4 or 5 ideas will be really good. We know that context comes in different forms. You can have social context, political context, cultural context, historical context, and there is a little bit of overlap with each of those. But this question is asking about social context. So let's see what we can offer. Okay. So the first thing that I would write about for this question is that Malala Yousafzai is a British Pakistani woman who survived when she was very young, survived an attack by the Taliban as she was going to school. The Taliban came on her bus and they shot her. And that is her background. And at the time, she was writing blogs for the BBC as well. So she became a real voice for activism, and she became a real voice for the rights of female education. So she has been through a lot of suffering. She's been through a lot of trauma. So that context is really significant for this particular magazine cover. There's also references to the war in Afghanistan. One of the things that Malala feels really strongly, really passionately about is the rights for education for women in Pakistan who currently, as I'm recording this, do not have the right to go to education, to go to school or to gain an education. And she really has done a lot of work in trying to champion those rights. She's been a spokesperson for the United Nations, at the United Nations as well, for women in Afghanistan and women in the north of Pakistan, which is where she comes from. So we've got 2 ideas here, one about her survival of Taliban attack in Pakistan, after which she moved to the UK, and one about her being a real advocate for women's education, particularly in countries like Pakistan and northern Pakistan and Afghanistan. Okay, champion for female education is another way of putting it. Now, we may also say that Vogue magazine is generally kind of a fashion Bible, a high-end fashion magazine, but under the leadership of Edward Enninful, it has become a lot more brave and a lot more diverse and more emancipated, more open-minded, and he's really kind of changing that branding, that kind of social branding of Vogue as well. Okay, and it does say, this is a quotation about Vogue, that Vogue is a destination for women to learn, be challenged, inspired, and empowered. Okay, so we know that Malala Yousafzai offers that inspiration and offers that empowerment, and we can learn something about her journey, and we know that she has been challenged. So all of those things are there as well. The other thing that is interesting in terms of social context is that Malala here is wearing her kind of head covering called a dupatta, and she is obviously a Muslim woman. Now, it is really unprecedented, quite unusual for a Muslim woman wearing head covering to be on the cover of Vogue, which is, like I said, traditionally a fashion magazine, even though Condé Nast, Edward Enninful are trying to change that whole narrative. We know that still it is fairly uncommon. So that is interesting context as well. And also, perhaps finally, we can talk about the fact that in the past, Black, Asian, or Asian models were severely underrepresented in Vogue magazine, but we are seeing that that trend is changing. And this cover is from 2021 featuring Malala. It's a really good example of how that sort of social context is changing. Okay, so I hope that's helpful. That is plenty for a 5-mark question.